friend. All right, Washington State law, I'm recording. Good. Oh, the YouTube channel isn't private, it's just unlisted. And so, you know, people can't randomly search for it. I always love it when I post something on YouTube and some random person starts commenting on this, like, I'm not in your class. Tell me when the next video is. Yeah, all of my web videos have just random people saying. All right, so let's get started on this. ProtoPie. I sent your invites to ProtoPie. Okay, good. And some of you have accepted this invite. So 14 of 61, not bad. So if you haven't already done so, do it in your own time. And this will allow you to get into ProtoPie if its full features. Okay. Again, we're not going to dive into ProtoPie yet because we don't have a project to ProtoPie, right? A project to increase fidelity on. So if you go back and read through the chat, I had people who came to class early and just said, like, just think about a project that you might want to increase the fidelity on. Like, what project actually needs this? Yeah. Go ahead.
We don't have to pay for the subscription. It's free because it said when I joined, it offered me one, but I said no.
I'm not sure about that. I just have the academic plan and I put you all under my umbrella. So you shouldn't have to pay for anything in this class so far. So far, we're using everything that in its free form.
Where can we find that invite that you sent us?
I had to send it to your Eastern address.
Okay.
So remember. Okay.
Don't you have to sign up for ProtoPie before you invite us to it, Colin?
I didn't have to.
Didn't we do that last class? So I have 9 people. I have 9 people who are pending, and 14 that accepted. So you guys can see my screen here. So those are the pending accounts, and those are the active accounts. You're good? Yeah. Normally, I would just walk around the room, and you get a little code that everybody gets assigned a different code, and I just typed all that in. But this is how they're deciding to do it now. All right. So good on our tools so far. All right, I'm really trying to be fast here. All right, YouTube channel is part of our tools. All right, let's get into this. Okay, this one is a hard one for me not to go long on. So I'm gonna try to do my best. We need to get meta about this. So meta that one of your projects for UX3 is you have to redesign the certificate. Like, I have you say, like, this is your 6-course certificate. How should it look? What does each class teach? Are there 6 classes? Or is there 1? And it's a really hard one, and it's a contentious one. Like, your classmates, I break you up into groups, and it's really insightful that people of the same demographic, people in the same class with similar experiences are arguing about the best way to do this. And it's just, that's what UX design is, right? You're all taking the same coursework, doing the same projects, yet you have all varying strong opinions about how this should be structured. And I think it's just indicative of what this field is. Okay. So I say don't keep looking for a singular answer. Okay. There's that famous quote by Henry Ford. It's attributed to Henry Ford, right? If I asked my customers what they wanted, they would have said, build a faster horse, right? So this is what we're getting into, this idea of just, let's get meta about this. Okay. If I go full screen, can you still see the slides? Great, this is easy for me. Okay, so let's get meta. All right. So what we need to think about is why we're talking about this stuff so much. Okay, you have to think about the thing that you're thinking about. I'm gonna say it again. You have to think about the thing that you're thinking about. Okay, that's why in professional practice we talk about meta work. That's why in web design we actually talk about HTML and CSS and JavaScript as languages. Like, what is a language? What comprises a language, not just what to type. And I need you to think about all of our tools in the same way versus UX, not UX, Figma, Sketch, Adobe XD, right? You need to think of them as not just where to point and click and what are the features of these tools, but what is the tool itself. And as we saw in last class, right, there was a list of tools, and those are the UI design tools, and ProtoPie is a prototyping tool, and we have to be able to make those distinctions. Okay, so I always get asked, why do you talk about talking about stuff? Because that's the nature of the job. Right? That's the nature of a lot of our projects. We have to get to the heart of it. So it's not about making a better fax machine. It's not about making a better fax machine. It's not about making a better fax machine for the third time. Why? Do you own a fax machine? When's the last time you sent a fax? If I said right now, right, your grade is dependent upon sending a fax in the next hour, you'd be panicked, correct?
Yeah.
Some of you would be, right? Okay.
Everything's closed.
Yeah. I've
So-
never sent a fax.
It's one of the best things ever said to me, right? In our chat before class started was like, we were discussing the save icon. Why is it a floppy disk, right? And so a lot of my classes, like, Colin, can you just tell me where to point and click and what to do and how big to make it and how small to make it and what color to make it? And I said, you're just trying to make a better fax machine. And that's not the nature of this work. The nature of this work is to ask, well, what is the fax machine trying to do? Is trying to send one piece of information to somebody else. And then we need to ask ourselves as UX designers, what's a better way to do that? And it's true of all of your projects. It's true of everything we're trying to do. Right? In a blue sky scenario, everyone would know what each other is thinking, right? I still can't get past the fact UX is going to cease to exist as a discipline. Yes, I'm talking about the destruction of my focus, the destruction of my expertise. That day happens when I put a microchip in the back of my neck and you put a microchip in the back of your neck, and I know what you're thinking and you know what I'm thinking, right? And we don't have to have anything in between us. It's direct one-to-one communication. And the day that happened, we're out of a job. Right? And so we're not quite there yet. Okay. How does that make you feel? Good. All right. So without getting too much into futurist philosophy here, let's get on with this. All right. So keep asking, what are you doing? How are you doing it? For whom? Always. What, how, and whom. And the answer isn't you. You are a tool in this. You are an artifact in this. You are a part of the process. You aren't what and the how and the who. Okay. And I can't let you leave UX3 without really hammering this point home. All right. Definitions. All right. These slides are fast. I talk about the definitions of the future. Okay. And what meta is. Again, meta is self-referential, talking about the thing about the thing. Okay. There's a lot of this. Okay. Good. Is everybody clear on what I mean by meta? And we're using it in the adjective form, right? You're referring to the work itself. Okay. All right. Okay. Same thing about the future. Think about what's next, right? About preparing for what's to come. And you know this, right? You know all of this. One of the secrets of the car industry is, here. This is one of my UX2 talks. Car prototypes. Right? You've seen these prototype cars all the time. They look really cool. Aren't they awesome? Yay, right? Look at this one. Woo, whatever that is. 10 insane car prototypes. All right. This is what goes through my head, okay, when I take a look at your work sometimes. And what I see on Dribbble, to be fair, right? What I see on the internet, period. I go, wow, that's really cool. I don't know when that's actually going to become a reality, or if that thing should even be a reality. And there is a place for concept. There is a place for experimentation, right? There is a place for all of this, but it's not in the version that needs to ship. Correct? It's not the thing that you have to use today, right now. And so these are these blue sky scenarios about thinking way ahead into the future. And a lot of what we get accused of is like, well, don't be so practical that you can't dream about the future, right? think about the future, act on the day. Think about the future, act on the day, right? You have to think about what's to come. At the same time, think about what is available to you now. Okay, this is a key point of this talk. Good, good? With me so far?
Good.
Check,
All
check.
right. So who came up with this idea, right? The great Wayne, he didn't come up with this idea. All right, Wayne Gretzky, this is the quote that's attributed to him. It's really, really good. You see it, people, they butcher this quote all the time, right? Wayne Gretzky is like, you know, if you don't know who he is, he's the highest scoring hockey player, considered the greatest hockey player ever. You know, and if you're a hockey fan, you can argue that one way or the other, right? But he's scored the most goals, right? And it's not by skating the fastest. It's about knowing where the puck is going to be, right? Same thing with Dennis Rodman, like the best rebounder of all time. He knew where the basketball was going to bounce before anybody else on the court. And if we can do that, right, our designs are going to be so much better because we can design for today while realizing what's to come. Okay. So what's next is this, right? There's a famous IBM executive, right? And I won't bring up the slide because bring up his picture, but he basically said, who's going to want a computer in their home, right? IBM was just the juggernaut when it came to computers. And then an executive said, no one's going to want a personal computer, right? Only businesses and enterprises want computers. There's never going to want to be a computer in the home, right? And Steve Jobs said, you know what? I think there's a lot of use and utility to this, right? And what you're looking at is one of the first user interfaces, right? And so when Xerox PARC first created the graphical user interface, it's not attributed to Apple, it's Xerox PARC, by the way. When they first created the user interface, they said, well, how are people going to communicate with this thing, right? You can type in the command line, and I'm a big nerd. I love the command line, right? But I can see that the rest of the world's not going to touch this thing, right? If there's not a middle layer, right? And what's that middle layer? That's the interface. And that's a lot of what we're designing for. And I take a look at this interface and I'm just in awe, right? Why am I in awe of this thing? Because if I was alive at the time that this was happening, right? The question to me would be very, very intimidating. Hey, you have to, right? So let's pretend you're the designer on this. Okay, everybody just pretend that for a second. In the whatever year, I forget what year this was, but the 50s, the 60s, okay. And they said, you have to design an interface for something that people have no idea what it is. You have to design an interface, right? And you're saying to yourself, well, what's an interface? Right? You have to make something that is understandable, right? Even though someone has no conception of what the thing is in the first place. Just think about that challenge for a second. Okay. And that's a lot of what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to push new products. We're just trying to design new ideas. We're trying to you know, I'm pausing here because I don't want to bash the startup revolution a little too much, but that's a lot of what the startup, you know, these up and coming startups are trying to do is introduce new things. Okay. Good, good? Yeah. So same thing here. Think about the slides in there. Oh yeah, go off on a rant about the UI of this. If you have a Mac, if you look down at your command key for just a second, yeah, that's why this is here. If you take a look at your command key, right, I'm gonna spoil it for you. It's just a Susan Kare icon. And she was asked to design all of the early Mac icons. Okay. All right, and there she is, and she's a complete and utter genius, right? Because she was asked to design the debug icon. She was asked to design the file icon, right? And this is what we were talking about in our chat here, is she was asked to design things that she's like, I don't know what this is. I'm not a computer scientist. I don't know what debugging is, right? Think about how hard that is. Just let that sink in, right? how do you design an icon where someone has 0 point of reference about what do you mean save? Like, what is save? Okay. Have you all seen Zoolander?
Yeah.
Right, the computer scene where they, no spoilers. Okay, if you haven't noticed it, right? They're like, where is it? Where is it? It's inside of the computer. Right. Every time I think of this about the future, I think about the Zoolander scene. It's like, well, is it actually inside the computer, or where is it? Like, okay. So watch this on your own time if you'd like.
Is it a good movie?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to talk about that. See, I would go off on a rant about Zoolander, but we're not.
I'm trying to distract. That was a test right there.
Yeah, good one. Good one. All right, so take a look at Susan Kerr's work, right? Susan Kerr Debug, right? She's in like the Design Hall of Fame, right? Look at, this is her early debug icon, right? And these are all the different sketches. Her books are just great, by the way. I mean, oh, and by the way, she was used to designing in high fidelity, and you know, Apple said, no, you get these little squares. You're like, what? I can't make a straight line. No, it's gonna have to be a diagonal set of squares. Have fun. Right, so. And these are the design challenges of what makes this field exciting, okay?
Steve, let me ask you about the iPhone and the Zune, if I may. The Zune was getting some traction, then Steve Jobs goes to Macworld and he pulls out this iPhone. What was your first reaction when you saw that?
$500 fully subsidized with a plan? I said, that is the most expensive phone in the world, and it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine. Now, it may sell very well.
Now,
Email machine.
yeah, right.
Love
To be
that.
fair, the BlackBerry never thought they were going to lose their market share and their dominance. Right, the Nokia phone, right? Now I know this was around in your generation, right? The unbreakable Nokia phone.
Oh yeah.
I had one
Right.
of those.
Yeah. I have one in my office. I never owned one myself, but I have my wife's old Nokia phone, right? Look at these things, right? It's indestructible. They never thought they were going to lose their dominance on this, okay? I don't know if some of you were, no, you weren't around for pagers, right? I grew up at a time where like pagers were the hot thing. And if some of you are thinking, what the heck is a pager? That's okay. Okay. And so when we had pagers, we thought, well, this is the future right here. It's always going to be like this forever. There's nothing better is going to come along than a pager. And if you don't know how to use a pager, you have to go to a phone, type in this cryptic code, right? And the person on the other line would receive this cryptic code. So you'd have to go to another device. You couldn't send the code from the pager itself. This was the augmented. This is the middle layer. This was the interface between you and another human being. Okay, good, right? So you could look at your pager, quote unquote, messages, but you couldn't respond to them from the device that you read it from. It was read only, right? And we thought this can't get any better. Okay. Right, and just to be fair, Steve Jobs also said, you know, if you use a stylus, you've failed, okay? Because he didn't want a stylus for any of his devices, and so Apple really had to convince him that the iPad needed a stylus. Thank goodness, by the way.
ES Lite, try.
All right. And, you know, what was that? I missed that comment.
DS Lite. Gang gang.
Oh yeah. Right.
Oh yeah.
All right, here is in 2007, Jeff Hahn gave one of the first talks about the multi-touch displays, right? Like capacitive touch displays. So instead of using pressure, right? This is essentially how all of our phones work. Okay, and now you can have multiple touch points. So before you had essentially a stylus that you had to press really, really hard on. Okay, and I love my Palm Pilot. I love my Palm Pilot to know. Screen sharing has stopped. I love my Palm Pilot to no end, right? But it can only recognize one set of input at a time. Okay, anybody ever owned a Palm Pilot? Am I just showing my age at this point.
My mom did.
Yeah, I had a friend that had one of those.
Right? And so you write this thing, and the writing was terrible, and the recognition was terrible. But we had these. Now, it was terrible at everything else. You still had to carry a phone, so you still had to carry all these different devices. Okay. Now, what's the big deal about this is one of those groundbreaking demonstrations. Right? When Apple saw this, they said, we need to buy this technology. We need to own multi-touch displays. Right? And Microsoft had their table. See if it's in the next phone, right? We'll talk about that. Right. Everybody's ever seen the Microsoft table? Yes? No?
Is it like the big iPhone they used to have?
I actually love this idea. It's basically a large. What they got? I'll have to find it for you. But it's basically a table. There it is. Here, we watch this real fast. I'll play this at double speed so you can see this. But Microsoft had this similar idea, okay? And this was in 2011. Should have been even earlier than that. How do you change the speed on this thing? Okay. Right, now watch when they go to pay, which is what I really, really like. Okay. Oh. All right, so basically to pay, you can throw your just your debit card on, or your card on there, right? And you can drop your camera on there, right? And it's just basically this large display, right? Now, I'm gonna ask you, where is your table? Great, get it?
Wait, you were asking us where our tables
Yeah,
are?
where is your digital table? Very
Oh,
good
in front
answer.
of me.
Non-digital. I don't have digital.
Yeah, where's your digital table?
I don't have
All
one.
right. Well, on a
A phone?
related note, think about all the services you don't use anymore.
I feel like that'd be like in a spy movie or something.
Right. So we need to keep all this into so what is keeping us from owning this stuff? Costs, right? Availability,
Practicality.
right? Is it working yet? Yeah, practicality. Is it as fast as the prototype shows? And this is why I showed those car prototypes. Those things look great. For a person that's even a non-car person, they look great. Like, I don't know, do they drive well? Are they easy to fix? And all this stuff factors into user experience. All right. Good? All right, so why is this groundbreaking? Because it said, hey, we can use the best pointing device, our hands, which we're gonna get into here. This is the best device. You own the best devices possible. There are 10 fingers, right? And 10 toes, and we've got this figured out. So why do we need this stylus to do this, okay? All right, so anytime something happens, people will get very, very upset. Like, this is the way I like it, this is the way I want it, and I never want it to change. How do we feel that the headphone jack has changed?
Not great.
Anybody else other than not great? Why, Rianne?
I mean, I get it for like capacity, you know, they want to make the microchip bigger or whatever, but I feel like a lot of users that don't know about technology feel like it's a tactic to get someone to spend more money.
Anybody else?
I like the Bluetooth headphones a lot more than wired.
Yeah, but all right, it's gonna play devil's advocate, but I gotta charge Bluetooth headphones and I have to pair them, and what if I lose them?
Yeah, it's not. I feel like to me they're not convenient anymore because if like they die and I'm in the middle of like a workout or something, it's gonna ruin my day.
Also, why do I have to carry a dongle bag? Why do I have to carry a bag of dongles and adapters? Like, I don't want to do this. I'm taking the role of the user right now, right? The user is. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. There's a little leg on mine. I feel like the users are just like they're intimidated by a lot of the technologies.
So, Sharissa, I'm going to go off on that point, or continue on that point. Continue that point. Is, do users need to know this? Right. All right.
One more time.
Do users need to know this? Right. And that's a tough point that us designers have to figure out, is how much does the user need to know the inner workings of the stuff that we're designing? And and that's a spectrum that goes back and forth. Yeah. Do we need to know the pros and cons of this technology? Really, or is a user just looking for, how does this make my life better and not harder, right? Not having to send a fax. Why is email better than a fax? Right?
It's faster.
And so it's you bring up a good point, that like, what does the user need to know and what they not need to know? And I don't, that's the job. Okay. Not to disparage anybody's parents, because everybody's parents might be tech experts, so that may be fair. But have you ever seen, or your parents or anybody else struggling with technology that you understand fully?
Yes.
Good. And then what happens when you start explaining it to them?
They're
like,
confused.
right? And Rhiannon, what are they saying? Why do I need to know this?
Yeah, and then they make me do it.
I just want to send an email, right? Why do I need to know anything else about? What do you mean my computer is full? That makes complete sense to us, but does the user need to know this? Okay. So always keep that point in mind, right? It's a very good point. Don't lose that. Yeah. How much does the user actually need to know? All right, because this is the future that everybody's pushing. This is the future that everybody's pushing on.
Pool cleaners, write thank you notes for the gifts, apologize to the clown, buy cleaning supplies, email the Shetland Pony Stable.
That's funny. I should write that down. I can't reply to that. Or that. Just gonna sit here.
The sky looks amazing. I look amazing. I should take a selfie.
I like this tape. This tape is dope. I should order some dope tape. Of course I remember the code. It's 4452?
Authorities are being called.
445.
Stupid lights.
Sure, Jim. I'd love to circle back with some action items.
I really gotta break up with my boyfriend.
Bright light. That's good. Yeah, I should record that.
I'm not doing it.
I'm not gonna do it.
I'm not gonna do it.
I'm not gonna do it.
I ain't doing it.
I'm not gonna do it.
Oh, hey, buddy. Are you gonna wake me up for my 9 a.m. meeting?
No way. Authorities are being called. The authorities are being called.
Did I forget to lock the front door? Hey, Google?
Hi, what can I do?
So, does anybody use voice assistants in some way, anyway?
Yes.
Try not to.
Yeah, I have a Google phone. Seems like it works when I don't want it to.
I
Like, I'll
use
say-
Siri all the time in the car.
I have an Echo.
Oh yeah, and that thing turns on, like no matter what. TV says Alexa, and she's like, yes.
Yeah, I keep it muted most of the time, like, so it doesn't just pop up for no reason.
It is the future, along with this. Professor Massengale believes VR is the future, right? I'm not going to argue with him, right? But what we have right now is AR and VR. If you want to know more about all this stuff, I really suggest talking to him. Really is forward thinking on this stuff. This idea of using your phone as a middleman. I have mixed feelings about this. Which kind of ends this presentation. Is, well, then why do I need another device between me and the thing? And you kind of need to keep that in mind. Well, why wouldn't you? Well, how else can I get this same information, right? Is this our future, walking around with this thing in front of us? It's bad enough that people walk around. It's bad enough, right, that this exists.
What? What the? That makes me sad.
Right? It's bad enough that some of you are on your phones right now and I can't compete with your phones. I'm never going to win. When it comes to you and your phone will always win. So what the point I'm trying to, is trying to make anybody feel bad. The point here is this really the future? Right? Isn't this just a faster horse? Right? Isn't augmented reality just now? I'm a huge fan of augmented reality. Right? I do a lot with it. Right? But at the same time, I'm like, is this just a pager? Right? Because I have a thing on my face. Everybody look at the thing. Right? You get the like here's the thing on my face. Right?
Yes.
So why do I have to put another thing between me and my face? Okay. So much so that Google has been working on a smart contact lens for a very, very long time.
Hell yeah.
Right. I don't know how I feel about Google being on my eyeball. Right. And that's a whole different class. Right. But we can't forget that there's human beings involved in all this. Okay. I always talk about how restaurants have cameras in them. Right. And if you would have said to people, 20 years ago, hey, all restaurants are going to have cameras in them, we're going to continue to eat there, they'd be like, no, we're not. Right. Humans have changed. Humans have adapted. There's Ring cameras all over the place, right? There are cameras everywhere. And how do we feel about it? We've just accepted it. Well, the majority has. All right. So technology will change people, and the technology will change their behaviors, but people's desires and needs will not. So what do I mean by that? All right, this is where I'm going to curse. Ready? Okay, you all need to shit, fuck, and sleep.
Word up.
Way ahead of you.
So that right there was on YouTube, recorded for perpetuity. Why? Because I'm talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The first page of your course website says humans are humans, users are human beings, right? And they need all this stuff fulfilled, right? Setting aside the current situation we're in, well, actually, the current situation highlights a lot of this stuff. The current situation really highlights Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like this big concept. And we can't forget about all the stuff as we're designing. We can't forget about this, is how is this actually helping deliver these things that make me a human being? Okay, so sorry, Elon Musk, right? He thinks we're going to be centaurs and cyborgs. I hope not. I don't want to lose my humanity. Yeah, so you can watch that in your own time. All right. In short, what you're going to do, right, is you're going to read Bret Victor's great article on interaction design. Okay, and I can't say enough about Bret Victor. Bret Victor is one of the people that you need to know. WarriorDream.net. He's one of the foremost people when it comes to thinking about where we're going with all this. Okay. Oh, it's now.com. He's a engineer. He's just done great things. He is a designer. He's a humanist. He's a futurist. And if these ideas kind of oh shoot, his latest project is really awesome. All right, this is where I'm going to go off on a rant, but long story short, he basically says, why are we using computers to do all this? This isn't right. Let's think about this idea for a second. I'm a big nerd. I love computers. I upgraded RAM on an iMac today. Yes, I did that. Nice. I love this stuff. I think this is the future. This is computing. This is collaborative computing. This is people working together. This is the technology making us better, not the technology getting in the way. Right? And so Bret Victor, along with many other people, are really questioning, like, what are we doing with these things that we have today? Like, are we really trying to make things better, right? And meet the needs that we've addressed. So you're going to read this, okay? And I talk about that. You've all heard that sermon saying, right? When everything looks like a hammer, right? When the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? Good. Use Figma to design a poster. Have fun. Go for it. Take Figma, go make a poster inside of Figma. All right, see how you feel about it, okay? So you're going to read Brett Victor's presentation. We're going to come back, right? And I'm going to revisit my slides and all this, okay? And I'm going to give you the spoiler on his talk. We got the best tools that we have are these things called hands, okay? So why is our life under glass? Why is always the next great product this thing under glass? Is this really the future? Am I going to be spending the rest of my existence, right, with a piece of glass or Gorilla Glass in front of me? Right. Are you still going to go to a room that has a big glass screen? Are you still going to remember to charge this precious piece of glass that you keep in your pocket or by your side at all times? Our future generations are going to look at us and laugh because we carried around this precious piece of glass that we had to recharge every single night. Good? All right. Deep Thoughts by Colin Manigault. All right. Let's go ahead.